Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Um, Please, can you introduce yourself to everyone, tell you where they can find you? I will, of course, link your page down below to make it easier, but if you wouldn't mind just telling everyone who you are.
Yes, hi Anna. So hi, my name is Miranda. I am a blogger, a UK blogger, as well as a YouTuber based in Oxford. And on my YouTube channel, I talk about investing, budgeting, especially personal finance as a whole, but investing in property and the stock market. And then on the blog, it's mostly lifestyle and travel. So you can find me on YouTube, my blog, as well as Instagram as well.
Amazing. And I do love your channel. I just honestly, I'm like, when you do your spreadsheet videos, I'm just like nerding out because I love it. Which is hilarious because when I make my spreadsheet videos, I'm like, who wants to watch this? Like, this is so boring. But then I think about it and I'm just like, no, but I love watching these videos.
I'm the same. I'm the same. I mean, I love watching your videos. So I love your spreadsheets. And every single time when you have like, what you guys want to see, I always comment, I want property updates.
No, I do love a good spreadsheet. It suits me. It's great.
Yeah, very soon.
So the reason that I invited you here, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, I think, on my channel, mostly in comments, I think, when I've spoken to people, I've had in my head that at some point I would love to go into real estate investing. It's something that I've considered for a long time, but it seems very unattainable. And yet here you are, and you have, I believe, two rental properties.
Yeah.
So I guess my first sort of question would be, what made you decide to go into real estate as well as the stock market?
So the real estate part of it, I think, was mostly from the idea that, you want to have, when you retire, that income, because in my kind of world, nobody was really talking about stock market investing. Everybody was like, oh, once you have a house, you set, like, especially a house that you rent out, you are kind of set for your retirement. So that got me into it. And I think it was more talking to my parents about it. They were like, yeah, no, that is the best way to have like extra income on the side. Nobody was talking about passive income or anything else other than real estate. So I knew for sure that I wanted to get into property investing. But if I'm honest, I thought I was just going to get one property and that was it. Until obviously, as you become familiar with personal finance, you're like, oh, okay. But my passion was always stock market investing, right? Because that I got introduced to via my work. I never knew anything. I don't know if I should even admit this online, but I signed documents at work where they were telling me, oh, this is how much stock you're buying or what have you. And I'm just like, okay, but I understood zilch, but I still invested. So yeah, that's it's kind of scary, but
I think
yeah,
as long as people aren't taking like massive risks, I've always been of the opinion that like everyone should invest, and
absolutely.
if you don't understand it, then just go for safer investments, like ETFs and things like that. I would never say, if you don't understand anything, just pick random stocks or invest in crypto or something.
Yeah.
But some form of investments, I think, is great, especially if you get sort of investments through your company. Where they do sort of the share schemes for employees and things. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. Like, I'm so gutted I've never worked for a company that did that, because it's such great value usually.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, for my company, that was one of the compensation package. But I must admit, I was in my 20s, mid 20s. I was too, I want to say, young to appreciate the value of that, because I was just like, just give me a pay rise. Why would I want you to give me these free stocks in the company I work for? Obviously, I believed in the company I work for, but I was like, why would I want that? Just give me the money to get. And then when they started the share scheme where you contribute a percentage of your pay, I was like, child, no, I was like, me give up my money, you're having a laugh. But I'm glad I did, because I did give up 1%, which turned out to be the best thing ever that I've done, to be honest. But yeah, I am fortunate that the companies I've worked for and working for do offer such incentives. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm so jealous. But going back to real estate, I think one of the things that puts me off, and from a lot of the research I do, one of the biggest sort of reasons that people mention that they wouldn't go into it is dealing with tenants. So how do you find dealing with tenants?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't deal with tenants at all. I knew immediately I chose to become a landlord. I knew that getting a call in the midnight, when I am traveling, because of the type of lifestyle I lead, I travel too much, and I thought it would be unfair, one, on the tenant to be like, oh, the toilet is clogged. And I'm like, well, do you know what? I'm not in the country, but why don't you wait until I come back? I didn't want that. So I knew immediately that I was going to go for a management company. So, the real estate agent to manage for me. So my properties are managed by an estate agent. So I don't deal with them directly.
Nice.
They know of me. They just don't know me. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think from when I remember from your spreadsheets, those fees aren't massively high, are they? Because I always thought that those sort of managing agents would be ridiculous fees. But yeah, on your spreadsheets, it seems pretty affordable.
Yes. Yeah. I actually, the first property, I use the same management company. The first property, we kind of came to 9-10% of the rent that I was getting. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then for the second one, I was like, I actually played the game of, well, I'm not sure if I should stay with you guys or if I should go somewhere else. So we went for 9% for that one. Yeah. So they're really not that expensive, in my opinion. It's kind of one of the beautiful things that you just add to your tax when claiming, right? So
Nice.
It's okay for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's a great way, I think, to get around having to deal with, I think it's not just about, I guess, the midnight phone calls, but I think sometimes people can just be horrible. So I think it's good to outsource this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Isn't that just the future? Outsourcing everything. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was a tenant myself for 10 years, and I've had varied landlords. I've had hands-on, too nosy landlords, but then I've also have friends who've got properties who've had nightmare tenants. And I was just like, do you know what? Sign me out. I am going to have a middleman right there to deal with all of those things. And I'm also utilizing the power of the management company because they have all of these contractors available to fix whatever comes up. So I kind of have agreed with them, like, if the cost is less than £200, prove it, go ahead, and just then they take it out of my pay, the rent. But if it's above, call me, maybe I can find something better. But yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. That's like really a weight off your shoulders, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Do you ever regret investing in real estate?
This one is a yes and a no, kind of. Yeah. So I don't exactly regret going into investing, but what I do regret is I wish what I know now I knew then, because when I bought my home, for example, I was just like, I wanted to buy it outright. That was the first thing. But secondly, my mom was like, no, put a big deposit, but we did too much of a deposit, if that even makes sense, because I could have actually utilized a lot of that capital to buy more properties. But I was just like, no, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to put the biggest deposit that I could. So that is kind of like, if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have done things differently. And I would have entered property investing differently as well. Yeah.
Hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Isn't it just 2020?
But I suppose I could say the same about, I don't know, the stock market as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you go along, you learn more, and most people's regret is generally, whenever I speak to people, oh, I wish I'd just known this earlier. But I think it's very rare that people know everything from the start.
Yeah, that's true.
What's your experience of returns from the stock market in comparison to returns from real estate?
Um, so it's quite interesting because I did a video comparing like the last 3 months of last year, right? And from property, maybe it's because I have one newish build and then one old property that they don't really have a lot of work that needs to go into them or expenses that I spend on them, because I have gone clean 9 months without any output on the property side, right? Whereas the stock market, if we look at what it was last year, those unrealized losses that just make you cringe. Because you're like, I put in this much and the returns don't look that pretty. So from the stock market investing point of view, I mean, it's not bad, but then again, I am thinking of it on the long term. I'm thinking I'll be investing for the next 30, 40 more years before I start touching a lot of this money. So I'm not too concerned. So I'm definitely earning more than what the banks give us. That's a good point. But on the property side, it's definitely been so much better because I don't have, or touch would have not had bigger expenses to affect, when I do my rate of return for properties, it hasn't been affected that much. So property seems to be winning at the moment compared to the stock market. Yeah.
Nice. And I suppose property is one of those things that tends to always go up in value, right? So it's very rare, I think, that it would lose its value. I think maybe short term, but definitely not long term. Do you think it's less effort though, investing just in index funds and leaving them be, than investing in real estate?
Yes, absolutely. I find it so much easier. I always think of the stock market, at least the type of investing that I do, as stick it and leave it kind of a situation. I just, everything is so automated. I don't even have to think about it. It's rare for me to be like, oh my God, let me just check if I have invested something or not. But whereas with the property market, it's like I said, even though I have a management company, there is still the emails, the calls, the approvals, and what have you. So I find investing in the stock market way much easier than with the property, because even with the property, it's finding the location, right? And then the funds. And when you are investing in a property, in a buy to let, it's the 25%. Yeah. So the stock market, so easy. Free trade gives you what? I can do £1 or £10, whatever I have, but I can't exactly do £1 on the property side.
No. And I think that's a massive barrier to entry for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
How easy was it to get a mortgage for buy-to-lets?
I want to say the most recent one was much easier than the first one. And I don't know all of the reasons why the first one was harder, but one of the reasons I was given was firstly, the company that we went with, the mortgage lender we went with, was like, no, she's a single person. So they said no.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. The second one was she hasn't been a homeowner long enough to get a buy-to-let. I think I'd been a homeowner for like 8-9 months by the time I started looking to buy my first rental property. And then the other ones that were there kind of were okay with whatever my situation was, but higher interest compared to the ones that, it wasn't even the fact that, oh, her credit report is flagging up something, or the deposit is not big enough. It wasn't even that. So for me, that was why I'm not really sure why, if it was only those two factors that, but I'm my mortgage advisor telling me, oh, this is the response. I'm like, dude, why? Like, why? But then the second one, no, not really, kind of just like submitted today, underwriter within 3 days, and was done.
Nice.
So
I guess maybe because you already had like your property and one buy-to-let, so they could see, okay, she hasn't defaulted on the mortgages, it's fine. But I can't believe they said because like you're one person, and oh my God.
Yeah, even actually my main home, that was one of the reasons. And I'm seeing a trend with one particular mortgage lender. So I know for future to avoid them just on principle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But otherwise, I didn't find the process that difficult. I mean, if you have a mortgage advisor like I do, all of that hard work is done by them. I just need to make sure I provide the information that they
documents.
require. But those two reasons, I must admit, did throw me a little bit to be like,
That's
that's not a
mad.
good
I
reason.
had, I
Yeah.
remember like this is like literally traumatic flashbacks to when I was applying for my mortgage for the London flat. And
Yeah.
oh my God, the amount of documents, the amount of issues, the amount of, okay, we'll give you the mortgage for this much, but actually we go through the process and then at the last minute they were like, actually, in order to release this mortgage, you need to pay off your car.
Mm.
It's like, you'd think like I have just 10 grand sitting in my pocket to pay off this car. Yeah, so many
Yeah.
issues. But that's
That
why I
was
always
actually my sister's experience as well. She wouldn't get the mortgage until we got rid of the car. They were like, oh, the car payment has to go because I don't know what did the mortgage advisor say? Something about competing. If, interest rates were to change, then she would have to compete between paying her mortgage and paying the car. So they would rather car is out of the way. And then if interest changed and her mortgage, I mean, we are going for a fixed rate mortgage, but it doesn't matter. They still tell you about, in case interest rates change and you can't afford it and it spikes up. So yeah, we had to deal with the same thing for my sister. Yeah.
it's mad how like things you don't even think will affect it, because in my mind it was always just, okay, how much do you earn? What's your
Mm-hmm.
disposable income? And through
Yeah.
your disposable income, after all your expenses, can you afford the mortgage payment? Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Plus however much, because I remember in the contract it said you should make sure that you can afford plus however many percent per month.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, but you can see that I can afford the payment, even
Right.
though I've got the car payment. Like, what is, yeah. Anyway, um, here's a question, and I tried to look this up quite often, especially previously online, and there's not that much info on it. There are some, but nothing's as explicit. And this is owning the property as a limited company versus just as a normal person. Do you own it through a limited company or just as yourself?
I own all my properties just as myself. And this, I didn't have any particular reason at the beginning, to be honest. Again, financial knowledge as you become, more aware and you understand things, you start, oh, okay, maybe I should have, yeah. But I have them all in my name, but for the next ones that I'm working on, they're all going via a limited company, purely because taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often thought, because at one point in time, before my
Mhm.
house build became like a black hole of money that just sucks the soul out of me,
Yeah.
I had a lot of cash sitting in my limited company from the YouTube channel, and I kept thinking like, oh, like could I buy a property and all this kind of stuff? And there's just not that much. Maybe I'm just bad at research, but I couldn't find much around this.
Mhm.
And I ended up speaking to my accountant, and they sort of said, well, yes, but you can't really do it through your current company. You'd have to set up a separate one, and have that be solely for sort of investment purposes.
Mhm.
But your company can lend that company money and then buy the properties and all this stuff. And I was just like, whew.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's more, from what I read, it's more difficult to get mortgages as a limited company, especially if you're in new companies that you've just
Yeah.
set up.
Mhm.
So quite often I read, it's best to buy something outright
Mhm.
initially. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I could do like um, a student, because I saw like a lot of student properties for sale in like
Mhm. Yeah.
Sheffield and Leeds and all these places.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 or 50 grand for like a small student property.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, like maybe I could get there, like get enough cash together and just
Yeah.
like buy that. And then I've got at least one property outright,
Yeah.
and then it's easier to get mortgages. But yeah, I think tax wise, seems much better. But I think more loopholes to jump through.
It's way more loopholes to jump through, to be honest. But I think I never really put much thought into, like owning it in my own name and what have you. But I remember speaking to my mortgage advisor, and he was talking about how, it also depends on what you want to do with them in the future. Like, what is your long-term plan? I'm like, child, I'm looking 5 years. I'm not looking beyond that. But it's like, no, because if you like want to gift it to your future kids and stuff like that, these all things you need to consider. There are benefits of in a limited company beyond just taxes. I'm just like, well, clearly you didn't mention this when we were starting out the process. But yeah. So definitely going for the next ones, limited company. And I must say, for the most recent rental property, I was going to go through the company, but until I saw the mortgage rates for going via a limited company, they were ridiculously expensive compared to just me. And he did say as well what you just said, whereby for a new company it's a lot more difficult. But I was also quite taken back at the interest rate. I was just like, okay,
Interesting.
okay. Yeah.
I never got that far in my research. Yeah. But I suppose, because I think from what I remember, there's like more things you can write off against it as a limited company and things like that. So I guess it ends up working out ish.
It does, I think. It does end up.
I feel like it needs a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh my God. We need another spreadsheet because I think I don't know if you're aware of what are they called? I can't remember the name of the company, but the guy who owns the property investing company wrote a book, and he was talking about how before you could have the interest on a mortgage, as something you claim, but now we can't, right? And I was just like, wait, hold on. You can't? It's like, no, now you can't claim the interest only mortgage. You can claim for most of the expenses, but not the interest only mortgage. But before, that's what a lot of property investors used to do, where you kind of put in your interest only mortgage, all of the costs. And so what you're taxed on is peanuts or almost nothing, right? But not anymore. So I was like, well, great time to enter the property market, right?
Yeah, I do get the impression slightly that they are trying to discourage people from owning multiple properties to rent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still want to get into it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So I suppose as like a summary, what would be the sort of first steps that you would tell someone to take if they wanted to get started with property investing?
First steps, I think I would look into the strategy that you want to employ. And, firstly, we were talking about, do you want to do it via your own name? Do you want to go via a limited company? That is something, think about it first, but also the strategy. Are you going down the route of buy to let? Because a lot of people are going through buy to let, right? But it's also very expensive and not really that accessible to a lot of people, because you do need 25% at least to jump onto that. But there are other avenues of getting into property investing that I'm only getting familiar with right now. Like I said, hindsight, right? But I would say if you're going to go the buy to let route, I would definitely not think of only saving 25%. I would 30% at least, 30% of whatever, and also look at the price range, research the areas. I personally chose to buy properties in the area that I live, even though I know there are areas like up north where they're so much cheaper and I could have gotten so much for my buck, but rent wise, I'm getting a lot more down here than I would up north. So kind of like determine the area. Do you want it to be near you, far from you? Do you want to manage it via a management company, or do you want to do it yourself? So there's all of these considerations, but at the end of the day, to be honest, it's all money, right? Do you so how much do you want to send there? Because by the time you put your mortgage down, lawyer fees, surveyors, all of these things, definitely think 30%, not 25%.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of people don't realize, like I definitely didn't realize, and I was only buying for myself, how much all those extra costs add up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
lawyers, surveyors, whatever else, just
Stamp
random
duty.
things. Stamp duty. Oh my God, yes, stamp duty. Geez, just
Anna,
everything.
that was the shock to my system, So, like I was talking about, like putting a big deposit down for the house. Me and mom are talking about it. We're discussing because my mom is my business manager. So we're discussing all of this. And she's like, oh, don't forget about stamp duty. I'm like, what? She's like, stamp duty, you have to pay stamp duty. I'm like, for what? Like, my brain was like, wait, how much is it? And I think for my home, it came to about almost £4,000. I almost had a heart attack because, like, this is what I was saying. When I initially started saving for my own house, I was thinking 10%, right? But then by the time the whole process was done, I was just like, I started telling everybody, if you're going to buy a house, think 15 to 20% is what you're saving now, because lawyer fees are another matter. I feel like lawyer fees you can try and save up, during the process, although I don't encourage it, but during the process, you can still try and save up that £1,000, £2,000. But stamp duty, this is, yeah, definitely additional costs that I didn't know, that I now know.
Yeah, and I think because I think stamp duty for me, I knew I'd have to pay it, but I didn't realize how much it would be in terms of money. And I do know a few people as well who sort of started going through the process, got everything done, and then realized, crap, I've got like another £5,000 to pay. So yeah, definitely be aware of that, I think. But yeah, I think it does all come down to money, doesn't it?
It really does.
Make sure you save a lot of money, and then do your research. Similar to the stock market, I suppose, just more startup costs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap this up because our Zoom meeting is going to finish soon. But that was really useful. Thank you. And like I said at the beginning, your channel is awesome. And for anyone watching, I actively encourage you to go and check out Miranda's channel because I love it. So many spreadsheets. If you're a spreadsheet nerd, go watch it, check it out. And like I said, she already invests in property. So if you are interested in going down that route at some point, definitely recommend checking it out. I will put a link down below. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
thank you.
I will, I will link your channel down below, and I will see you soon.
See you soon.